let's talk about the homework I gave you guys before we came on tonight. One quote from one prospect on campus this week. I said, pick one from one of these guys that really stuck with you, really raised your eyebrows. We'll go around the horn, go rapid fire. A lot of this stuff is behind our premium paywall over at DawgsHQ.com. So we're just going to give you a little bit of a taste, but I'll start with you, Jake Rowe.
I wanted to go with, I would love to say what Joseph Jonah Ajanye, I think I got it right that time.
You're going to get it at some point.
About Trey Scott. Like that was eye-opening. I told Roos that, and Roos goes, geez. But I'm not going to say that. I'm going to tease that. I am going to say something that he said, though, which was, listen, Georgia offers, he calls them his dream school. He goes in. He told me he went in at 255 and he came out 275. That's how much he ate. Maybe he and I just bond real tight over that. I don't know. But he said that Georgia is not high on his list, super high on his list. And he went ahead and he secured an official visit. That's huge for Georgia. And I think ultimately it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out long term. But you got the feeling from talking to him that Georgia had put itself in a really, really good spot. And I think if they press for him until he's ready to commit on August the 1st, I think they're going to have an excellent chance of getting him. And I think if you haven't watched this film, turn it on, because this is this cat, he's got one of those gas tanks like those F-150s had in like the mid 90s, one of those like 65 gallon tanks type deals. Flip from one to the other, this boy can go, and he plays hard, and I'm really interested to see how hard Georgia recruits him, going forward.
He's got a neck like a 65-gallon tank too.
He does. He's got a neck like a Ford F-150, which means neck.
And I tell people too, the cool thing about him is he's got that Nigerian heritage. He's not like a guy who's a Texas guy necessarily, like he didn't grow up there. You get a guy on like that 36 hours on campus and he's locking in an OV. That's good stuff, man. That could be just what the doctor ordered with Georgia need a big D-line haul.
All right. I'll just assign y'all out so we don't have that wonderful dead air. Roos, what's your quote?
I'm going to go with KJ Bolden, man. I was really struck with some of the stuff that he said. This one right here, that was actually going to be my quote. I visited Georgia a lot throughout my high school career. Today gave me a feeling this could be my home for the next 3 to 4 years. I feel like KJ Bolden, listen, there's no school, not even close, that he's visited as much as Georgia. But it felt like, to me, he was speaking a lot more emphatically coming off of this visit than he had previous visits. He was a little bit more caged before, and I feel like in this instance, I don't mean to say that there was necessarily like some sort of revelation or anything like that, but it felt like Georgia may have made a big step forward here for him, and they're going to get him back on campus in like 2 weeks. I mean, it's June 9th is his official visit. He'll be back, and he told me, I asked him, what's that visit about? You've taken all these visits to Georgia. What's left? And he said, we're getting real heavy into specifics, enrollment plans. We're talking about academics, my major, all this stuff. Georgia has that plan ready and in front of him. Listen, I'm not saying that he's going to break the Buford curse, but he might be the guy to break the Buford curse. He could be. I mean, he's speaking, like I said, he's speaking a lot more emphatically than I've ever heard KJ speak. And he's a guy who speaks from his heart, and he speaks very openly, and I always appreciate that about him. But you got to feel better about where Georgia stood post-visit, and I felt pretty good about where Georgia stood even prior to that visit.
Well, and the RPM backs it up too. I mean, Georgia made a massive move today after that visit. They went from, it was about 29% to over 60, big advantage over Clemson and the rest of the field. So the numbers back it up.
All right, Palmer, I'll go ahead and let you take it from there.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about something that I wrote about from the Dylan Raiola interview, which is on our YouTube. So go check it out. This one isn't behind a paywall. So the story isn't either. So check that out too. Made it an emphasis after I committed to build the best class ever. Dylan Raiola, he didn't just talk the talk this weekend. He walked the walk. We just talked about the entire workout. We don't need to go any more into that. But I think it's really impressive that this is a kid. We've talked about it before after his commitment. The Dylan Raiola effect, the fact that we saw it last year with Arch Manning in Texas, and that guys want to be around him. Look at the kind of talent that came to campus this weekend. A lot of those guys and the commits too made the decision. When they didn't have to be there. Some of them decided during the week after Dylan commits on Monday, they say, I kind of want to be around this kid on the weekend. I kind of want to see Georgia and experience it with Dylan Raiola. So he's not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk, but I liked the way that he talked the talk there.
All right, I'm going to make y'all wait on Rusty because I know that he's the guy that you still want to hear from the most. And I'm going to dust off something that happened before this massive weekend even kicked off, no pun intended here. And it was the commitment of Rusty's favorite position on the football field, the punter. That's right, Drew Miller commits to the Dawgs. And what does he say about Georgia? But he's excited to see how Georgia can get punters into the NFL. I don't know if anyone's ever said that about a school, a punter, anything in the history of college football. Georgia is punter U. So Drew Miller has my PU, baby. Drew Miller's my quote of the weekend. All right. Sorry, Rusty. Stole your thunder there.
I love it. I mean, the fact that Georgia landed the #1 player in the country earlier in the week, and then they finished it off with a punter. I mean, it Roost at one point texted me like, "What the hell, man? What are we doing here? Like, this is living right now, man."
Yeah, Rusty Mansell. This isn't coincidence, folks. This guy comes to DawgsHQ. Georgia lands #1 player in America, #1 punter in America. It's the DawgsHQ
Piper for punters.
I'll give 30 seconds on why the punter has grown to this with me. And Jake Rowe was working with me at the time. And I came on the board at the previous location, and I said, hey, guys, Georgia's going to get one tomorrow, and it's an All-American. And that's all I said. And at the time, it was an All-American.
I remember this very, very well. And I wasn't at the same spot, and I was going
trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
So Marshall Long committed the next day as an All-American punter. And I'm telling you right now, the board was ready. They were ready to drag me through the streets of County behind an El Camino. And, I was like, you know what? I'm always going to have fun with a punter. And when I got word on this one, I thought, boy, this is too good to be true right here. And I talked to him on Thursday night, and I was like, Drew, one of the best interviews I've ever had, man. It lasted a minute and a half.
Look at him, dude. What position do you think this guy plays? If you don't know, that he's a punter.
He plays quarterback. He plays. I mean, this guy's an athlete now. Don't let me, downgrade his commitment. And I will tell you this: I am not a punter expert as much as you guys want me to be. But I will tell you, I had 2 different people tell me this might be the best punter they've seen in the last 8, 9, 10 years. Like this guy for Georgia to put a scholarship player in the 2024 class at punter tells you this dude's talented.
8, 9, 10 years includes Jake Camarda, who was a hell of a punter.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this guy's an athlete too, man. I mean, he plays different positions, plays all over the field. So, I don't want to downgrade his commitment. I know his dad's on DawgsHQ board. We're glad he's there, but I had fun. And I tell you what, I probably had the biggest smile of anybody in America Friday afternoon when I put that one out.
Are punter evaluations done differently than? Is there a different formula or a different way?
There's some guys that handle punters and kickers, and there's 2 guys that basically run the show in the country, and they do their rankings, and they discuss. Those guys go through their kicking camps and punting camps for years. So that's kind of how that. There's 2 guys that control it.
It should be noted that in the Coles rankings, which is typically what I look at for a guy like this, he's a 5-star kicker and a 5-star punter. He's both. I mean, he's number 24, I think, in kicker ranking in the nation, and number 1 punter.
Yeah,
man. The Coles rankings, and they do a fantastic job, man.
But
this episode rocks.
Yeah, man. So I'll go to the question that got to the quote. I'll be simple with this. Cam McHale told Chad Simmons, and I quote, "I've said it before. Georgia is the new Alabama." And when you say that, that's strong. And, he is a high-profile recruit, kid out of Statesboro, Georgia. I went down and saw him earlier this winter, and he is put together. He's a sub-11 100-meter guy, plays basketball, really good athlete. So just to hear that quote, Georgia is the new Alabama. I mean, that's the question in college football. We can debate it and do this and do that, but when you have a high-profile recruit say that, it kind of tells you maybe that's what some other recruits are thinking. So, it's simple saying, but maybe a lot to that.